Appamada's programs and facilities are supported through your generosity. Your support really does make a huge difference. You'll find a link for contributions on the website at appamada.org/contribute. Thank you so much.
I want to offer some grounding words, first from Norman Fisher and then from A. Dogan, our compassionate founder. When I was working with this slogan, as I say, I found myself engaging in a kind of tunnel vision, focusing on what I do wrong, and then legalistically parsing what I might get away with, how I can argue myself out of having to honestly confront those things I do. So I thought that in talking today, it might be good first to offer at least an antidote to tunnel vision. So let me start with some words from Norman Fisher, his wonderful, wonderful book, which I've read now 4 times, Training in Compassion, Zen Teachings on the Practice of Lojong. He describes the first step in Lojong training as resolve to begin. And how do you resolve to begin? By training in the preliminaries. And what are the preliminaries? I'm sure you're all familiar with these already, but they are the rarity and preciousness of human life, the inevitability of death, the awesome and indelible power of our actions, the inescapability of suffering. Fisher points out that the first preliminary, the rarity and preciousness of human life, is kind of uplifting. To paraphrase what he spends several pages on, he says, take stock of the fact that you comprise a unique combination of subatomic particles that have been evolving since the beginning of the universe, and that our planet, which is in a very special kind of what they call Goldilocks zone around a very ordinary star, so that we have liquid water in an atmosphere that has allowed the evolution of the type of oxygen breathing life that we are and that we depend on, that our planet is one of uncountable billions orbiting uncountable stars in one of an uncountable number of galaxies. Not only is this rare and amazing and confoundingly hard to fathom, we share this life in this very moment with trillions of other creatures, from bacteria to plants in the sea and on the land, fish and animals and birds, and everything from the most minute to the largest that we know about, including some 7 billion other people. And he says, therefore, your living body is a fortunate, rare, precious gift, and your human mind, consciousness, risen to the point where there can be identity and value and thought and beauty and autonomous choice. This body and mind are rare and dear beyond compare. Having received this rare and precious gift, how is it that up to now you might not have thought about the best and highest way of fulfilling your human purpose? You might not have resolved to go beyond your self-centeredness and self-concern at points in your life, so that you might begin to manifest wisdom and compassion, or whatever you consider to be the highest of human purposes. Considering deeply the preciousness of human life, you probably feel inspired to begin to do something more with your life than you have done up to this point. The other 3 slogans, Fisher says, are less inspirational, perhaps even painful to contemplate. Certainly, the inescapability of suffering is painful to dwell on. So is the inevitability of death. But again, Fisher offers a different frame for the inevitability of death. Yes, it is true that this rare and unimaginably complex combination will go away at some point. But he says, the reality of death is the most important factor for every moment of our lives, because it is thanks to death that we can cross from one moment to the next. If this moment doesn't die, totally disappearing, we can't have the next moment. So loss and death are facts of life in every moment. I want to focus on the third of the 4 Lojong slogans, the awesome and indelible power of our actions. Elsewhere in the Lojong slogans, one finds the saying, realize that you already have what you need. This is true for all of us, actually, and we can feel it in our very being, that we have agency, we have, or at least up to a point, that we have the possibility of meeting our life as it is in openness and to turning away from our natural or inborn or inherited conditioning. So that means that we have what we need to live this life as fully as we can, moment by moment. We have the capacity to act with free will in each moment as it dies and is born into the next. And our meditation practice shows us that somewhere inside, we can contact and draw upon the qualities of our Buddha nature that are always with us. Loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. All the qualities which together help us to take only what is freely given and to give freely all that we can. According to Dogen, that Buddha nature is not something far off and unattainable. It is everything all the time, literally. Dogen applies this in one of his confounding writings to the precepts. The book or fascicle is called Shoaku Makusa. And I think we need to have another class just to parse this out. We'll have to go line by line and paragraph by paragraph to do it, but it's quite amazing. I'm going to use a paraphrase of Brad Warner's paraphrase of Dogen's writing, because it's just too difficult otherwise. And I'm also drawing on some language from Nancy Mujo Baker's book, Opening to Oneness, a book about the precepts. So I'm going to put air quotes around this, and I'll drop it after a while when it gets irritating. Taking what is not freely given and not giving freely all that you can is not something that you are. Taking what is not freely given or not giving freely all that you can is something you do. When you cease taking what is not freely given or not giving freely all that you can, when you cease those actions, the person doing those actions that you were when you were doing those actions ceases to be, vanishes instantly. So if you violate the precepts, that's not who you are. It's an action that has a place in time and then vanishes. And what is left? What is left is Buddha nature. When taking what is not freely given or not giving freely all that you can, when those actions are not done by someone, those actions do not exist. Even if you live in a place where you could act like taking what is not freely given or not giving freely all that you can, I'm sorry, I balled myself up on this phrase within a phrase here, but even if you live in circumstances where those seem to be required, where those types of actions seems to be required, and even if you live among people and only people who always do those types of actions, the power of not doing those types of actions conquers all. That is, the Buddha nature remains unaffected. Your Buddha nature remains unaffected, even if all the conditions of your life seem to be pushing you in that direction. As soon as you stop engaging in those acts, you are not that person, and those acts are not happening. This is not a once and for all realization. It appears dynamically, moment after moment. When enlightened people understand that violating this precept requires action, they behave like decent people at each moment in the past, present, and future. At every moment, no matter what we're doing, we need to understand that taking only what is freely given and giving freely all that you can is how someone becomes enlightened. This state has always belonged to us. Cause and effect make us act. By taking only what is freely given and giving freely all that you can now, you create the cause of doing so in the future. Our action is not predestined, nor does it spontaneously occur. It is affected by our previous actions. By not taking only what is freely given and by giving freely all that you can at this very moment, you enact the precept and make it appear in the world, and that goes on forever. So, pretty hard to follow, but the point I want to say is, again, to counteract tunnel vision, so that you are not focusing on what you do wrong, but realizing that our Buddha nature is expansive, universal, an ocean that we swim in, an ocean that makes up our body and our mind. So I hope that's useful in what we are going to do next. And I ask you to, again, just take a moment, breathe that in, let it be known throughout your body that the entire universe is supporting each breath in utter generosity as its simple unfolding. And that you can meet the people around you with that same generosity going forward by helping to create those conditions through realizing this precept. Okay, so now I want to talk about connecting rooms. And in the groups of three, you might want to have a pencil or something to write with at this point. All right, so here are the instructions. Each group will need a timekeeper. In the group, spend the first 3 minutes in silence, remembering that you have what you need, that your actions are important, and that everything exists within the context of Buddha nature. And remember it in relation to the precept of taking only what is freely given and giving freely all that you can. Then choose a person to go first, and each person will have up to 4 minutes to describe their thoughts on one of the 4 following questions, which I sent out an email earlier this week. What is stealing? How might it arise in my life? How can I know what is freely given? That's a complex question in our society. Do I steal from myself? Here's the next question. Do I steal from myself? If so, how? Next question. What is generosity? Is it the same or is it different from freely giving? How might generosity be expressed without reinforcing a separate sense of self? Because you may have noticed that often pops up, even when you're trying to do your best to give freely. Claudine, you've got a question?
Yes, I don't understand this sentence about arise in my life. What does it mean?
Okay, so to put it in a kind of harsh way, how do I steal?
Oh, how do I steal?
If I steal, how do I do it? Okay, so those are the questions. All right, well, welcome back. It looks like everybody's here. Thank you. I was in a fantastic group, and I did urge the others in my group to share with the larger group what they noticed, what came to them, and then also their reflections on what they heard from the others in the group as well, if that's possible. So I said I urged them to do that, but I didn't hear their agreement, so I'm not going to call on anybody to do that. But if you have thoughts from the connecting room, what you shared, what emerged for you as the most important among those questions, or what you heard that moved you from someone else, if you would talk about that now, I would be grateful. So I see Shelley has raised her hand. Shelley, can you unmute and go ahead?
Sure. I just happy to share the question that's coming up for me mostly is how I can know what is freely given. So I was expressing that I'm trying to take the precepts into my work world, and where I am in a management position, and I'm trying to determine how to carry what's freely given and to give freely. But I have employees who are not, who I don't really think want to be there and don't really want to be freely giving what's expected. And I'm caught in this place where I have to manage them and tell them to do something that I'm not entirely sure they want to do, so that it just puts me in a place of subtle conflict in myself. And I'm not sure how to be the most kind and compassionate, caring being when I'm also responsible for outcomes. And so I'm just sitting with that as gently as I can.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm gonna jump in and talk about what I shared in the group as well, and I'm gonna mention something that Shelley said in the group in response to me as well. What I talked about was the question of, do I steal from myself, and if so, how? And I said that I recognize that there's a cascade of stealing from myself that I do. And I focused on what I do when my mind wanders in meditation, and how sometimes I see that I'm doing that, but that I don't make the effort or take the step of unmeshing from conditioned thoughts, but just let them run, even though I've recognized that that's happening. And then feel bad about that. I hit myself with a second arrow over that, and then try and sit up straight and breathe better and pay attention to my posture and my breath, and let this whole, and as Flint said in a recent beautiful inquiry, take care of your posture, take care of your breathing, let enlightenment take care of itself, right? So I'm trying to embody that. And to come back to that, and again, I'm just kind of connecting it with the thought that Norman Fisher expressed in this notion that death is part of each moment. That unless the last moment has not disappeared, we cannot be in this moment, and that we have this renewed freedom, and that I also reflected on the fact that I have all sorts of anodyne thoughts that help me get over the hurdle of feeling bad about having stolen from myself, which is the thought that's been expressed by the Tibetan teacher Yangur Mingye, or Yangur Mingye. I know I'm saying his name wrong. But which is that, yeah, your mind may wander, but as soon as you notice it, you're already back. And maybe that's good enough. Maybe that's good enough as a start, as a way of not just getting tunnel vision, as I said before, about how I fail. And Shelley, I want to try and repeat what you said, that Flint told you, but would you say it? I'll mess it up.
Sure. He said to just let the thoughts run and notice what else is happening too. So it's like, instead of focusing just on that and then giving myself a rough time for it, to like expand a little bit and see what else is happening. And when I do that, then something happens with the thoughts, and I don't know, I just get a whole lot more gentle with myself.
Thank you. That's such great advice, and utterly true, and utterly available all the time. Any other thoughts or things to share? Rosemary, I see your hand.
Yeah, I wanted to I wanted to thank my group members and for their sharing, and what I noticed is that the feeling of abundance that one could have really has so much impact for me. It has so much impact, because I'm not there, would have so much impact on my tendency, in particular, to steal attention, that, is not natural in the moment, in the experiences that I do steal attention and bring it to myself. And I think, so there were people in my group who were thinking about others and their actual scarcity today, that versus what I often feel from history and from conditioning, which allowed this person in my group to feel her gratitude for what she does have, and appreciation. And so that really helped me. Everybody in the group helped me. So I really appreciate these little groups. They just do something that the big group does something, and the little groups do something different. And so thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. Yeah, I just want to say in response that it occurs to me that when thinking about generosity, when thinking about giving freely, that's impossible without some sense of gratitude, without first acknowledging all the generosity that is surrounding me all the time. Without that I tend to really focus on how I want a particular response from another person, or what I deserve in response, or some silly thing like that. But in gratitude, you can move beyond that. So, thank you. And Marla.
The question, what is stealing and how does that arise in my life, made me think about how I steal emotional intimacy with a loved one of mine through an act of omission. And that the example of that is my 90-year-old father. Any information about my life, I mean, even the most minute information, is immediately spread all over my hometown through the gossip channels. And it's embarrassing. And he's stealing privacy from me. And therefore I have withheld intimacy from him by not telling him anything. So it's this resentment, passive aggressive, thing back and forth. And it's all about giving, taking, yeah, it's very uncomfortable. And I feel guilty that I'm taking from him the ability to know me as retaliation for his use of knowing me. Anyway, that's what that question arose for me.
Marla, I wish you peace around this. We're going to be doing some meditation in a few minutes, and that is something that can be held in that way. Claudine, hi.
I was very touched by Rosemary's share, because what I said in my little groups had the feeling of stealing appreciation or attention, because I know that I have a part in my childhood that was really deprived from the right attention, and that wanted always to receive attention. And now as an adult, I am very often aware that the little part takes over and takes the lead to grasp for attention. And I realize how much own judgment and criticism there is in me, but not only in me. I heard that from other members of my group. It's easy to be ashamed or to be angry with oneself when one realizes things like that. And yeah, it was not easy to admit it. And so I feel less lonely. Rosemary, thank you for your sharing.
Thank you, Claudine. Ed?
And I just want to again give a shout out of appreciation and thanks to everybody that was in our group. And it was very, of course, reinforcing and comfortable to see and to hear that we're all pretty much in the same boat. We're not alone in this, and what a tremendously significant precept this is, and how it makes itself a huge and deep practice edge. And it's a practice edge that's in that 24/7 kind of mode to do these things. And certain things that we don't really seem to have an answer for, like how can I know what is freely given? There is no guarantee that you will know that with certainty every time, because you can't know the minds and hearts of everyone in every situation. And that kind of led to something, I don't think we expressly said it, but what was coming up for me and listening to everyone on this part is that there's a huge component of compassion that needs to be or is associated with this precept, I think. And especially when it comes to the generosity and do you steal from yourself? I know I steal from myself in a convoluted way, or that by sometimes giving others the keys to my life and doing things to satisfy other people, and not looking at what do I need to do to satisfy or make my life worthwhile, or what's a priority. And then the whole thing about what's different, how do you express it? I guess the biggest thing that I can think of is that generosity as an intent without an expectation is the best that I can understand it at this point. And sometimes in a practical sense, trying to remain anonymous. And also, in other times, looking at whatever was done in terms of giving is to give and forget. Just take it off the table. Don't keep a log of it. Don't remember it. Do what you're doing with a specific intent, and let it go. So, and again, the group was very informative and very helpful. So, thank you all.
Thank you so much, Ed. Ra, you've got just a couple minutes.
Thank you.
Not to pardon me for even saying that at the beginning. Please do share what you want to say.
I had heard that you wanted to get on with the metta practice, so I'll be really brief. This was really huge for me, engaging with this precept. And what I'm with is, do I really appreciate what life and what the world gives to me? and I don't. If I, and it's profound, if I really, really appreciate it, even just in the smallest ways, looking about me at each object, if I would take so much more care of life and the great privilege. And really know my great fortune. So I felt very, very tenderized by being with this precept. Yeah, it feels like it runs through everything. Yeah, that I'll keep it at that.
Thank you, Ra. In closing, I want to mention something from this morning. I got a chance to listen to the Dharma talk offered by Ellen Hippard this morning, and I see a couple people who were there and heard her talk. And she was talking about a process of repair, how to talk. She was specifically speaking as first someone who had been injured by the words of another, and how to let to engage in a process of repair, to from her own personal power, know that she had the right to ask for repair and ask that it take a certain form. Let me say that this talk was not recorded at her request, but you can email her and get a copy of the text. But anyway, so she described this process, and she described also being on the other side, having injured someone and being approached to offer to engage in a process of repair, where she was called on to recognize that the impact of what she had said was different from what she intended, and how she could go about acknowledging what the other person had felt, acknowledging the rights of that person to those feelings, and to ask for repair and so on. I mention this because I think it is something that we can do in our life, which is the most generous thing. It is the most generous thing to be open to repair when we have made a mistake. It's very difficult very often. If you've injured someone, or you recognize that you've hurt someone, or just that there's some way in which you are in dukkha, that's that sense of being out of balance, a wheel out of balance, that it is a supremely generous gift to be available to repair, to meet the other person on equal ground. And in this way in which all the precepts come together, that it is a generous gift that we can give. So I would, okay, so the talk was mailed to everyone at Appamada, Rosemary says in text. So watch for that. It's a great talk. And of course, you can't get the flavor of Ellen's gentle voice, of her careful consideration of questions as they are brought forward so beautifully. But the talk is great, and I really urge you to check it out. So again, on that, let me find my place here. Sorry. I want to talk about a metta practice, and why am I doing that now? First of all, because we know that a member of this group, Asoka, Richie Cuthbertson, recently his father died, and that his sister, following the funeral, made an attempt on her own life. And we can hold them in metta as well. And what I want to say is that, here's Dogen talking about that the Buddha nature is all encompassing. It is within us all the time. It animates the entire universe. And this is that a metta meditation is an embodiment of that. So, and I hope I'm stating that kind of broadly. I hope that's clear. I mean, by sitting still, by turning our minds toward thoughts of compassion and healing and loving kindness to others, we are fully embodying Buddha nature. We are becoming Buddhas in that moment. So, I want to read some words from Peg. These come from the webpage about metta practice that are available on the page is available on the Appamada website under the study page among the resources. She says, metta practice is a way of cultivating loving kindness toward ourselves and others. It has been a part of the Buddhist tradition from its earliest days. This method involves repeating, either silently or out loud, a set of phrases. You simply repeat them without any concern for thinking about them or meaning them. They are like an internal combustion engine that is heart expanding and energizing. Our set of phrases is a bit different from some of the traditional forms you may hear or read about. Try them and see what you discover. This practice is a specific relief for anxiety and depression. When engaging this practice, it is most important to repeat the metta phrases first for oneself. So I'm going to go through these 3 times for ourselves and then expand out. Often, it is recommended to do this practice for 6 months, just for oneself, before expanding the practice. First towards someone you cherish or admire, then for someone you feel neutral toward, then towards someone perhaps you have some struggle or conflict with, and finally, all beings. And again, I'm stepping away from Peg's words here to my own. When you are doing this metta practice, you are engaging in embodying Buddha nature. This is a pure flow, a pure gift, an empty gift, where you are anonymous and the giver may never know, and the receiver may never know, and the gift is taking a form that can't be described and can perhaps never know. It's a kind of a pure offering. So here we are sitting together, and I'm going to say this 3 times through, and then I'm going to say it for another person that is dear to us, and then another person who is neutral, and another person who is perhaps one we are in conflict with, and then for our group, and then for all beings. And then we will close for today. May this body be at ease. May this heart be open. May this mind be boundless. May this being awaken. May this body be at ease. May this heart be open. May this mind be boundless. May this being awaken. May this body be at ease. May this heart be open. May this mind be boundless. May this being awaken. For another whom we hold close, may your body be at ease. May your heart be open. May your mind be boundless. May we awaken together. Expanding the circle of our heart, what we can hold in our heart, we can now go to those who are neutral to us. We can wish, may your body be at ease. May your heart be open. May your mind be boundless. May we awaken together. And then in our thoughts now, someone we may have conflict with or some difficulty. May your body be at ease. May your heart be open. May your mind be boundless. May we awaken together. And now for this beautiful space that we are in. May our hearts be at ease. May our hearts be open. May our minds be boundless. May we awaken together. For all beings, let us say these together. May all bodies be at ease. May all hearts be open. May all minds be boundless. May all beings awaken together. Thank you for your wonderful generosity in engaging with that exercise. Metta. We're actually finishing a little early. I want to add something that I know because I'm one of the entrusted teachers at Appamada, which is that you may have seen a message from the board chair recently about Appamada's financial situation. We have been, as a group, spending more money than we are taking in, and this has implications for the future of Appamada. It's not any kind of crisis at this time, but it's something worth sharing knowledge about. And I just want to say, to the extent that you can give to support Appamada, please do so. This is an amazing collection of people with this treasure house of knowledge that's shared on the web, and an incredible outpouring of generosity every day from people who come together to share their way on the path, or their path on the way, or however one would say it. And to me, it's a very important organization, and I support it as much as I can. I'm going to actually once I can work it out with my bank, I'm going to be increasing my monthly giving. And I know that monetary constraints make it very difficult for some people to participate in that way. I'll just say, whatever you can do, please hold Appamada as an entity that comprises us all, and hold that entity in your heart. And if you could support it monetarily, this is a good time to do so. So, more questions for now? I may need to adjust the date for the August meeting. Pardon me. I'll do that in email. But I know that right now the date is set for a time when I'm planning to be in Oregon, visiting some friends in Oregon, and I'm not sure about whether on that day I'm going to have the Wi-Fi connection that I can share. But let me say that it is what I think is one of the more difficult and more enlivening discussions that we'll have. I'm going to send out some poems, a sonnet from Shakespeare, which begins, "The expense of lust, the expense of spirit in a waste of shame is lust." So, another about just the powerful force of sexual desire, something that Laurie talked about last week in her great Dharma talk that she gave. Anyway, I really hope you will be there for that and engage with the group and with me on that topic. Have a wonderful evening, morning, rest of your day.